Hi guys, I'm here with a true story where miracles happen, true stories of heavenly encounters. And this one is called Vision on the Windshield. This one has a quote before it by Sandra Pratt Martin from Bite Your Tongues. What's a miracle, Andy? God. That's all. God paying attention to you. Okay. That was getting him back, wasn't it? So let's read Vision on the Windshield. On a bright fall day, 12-year-old Annie Teachnor came home grinning. We were riding bikes, and some boys threw crab apples at us, she announced to her mother, Cynthia Goldsberry. I got hit in the eye. Cynthia hid a smile. Flirting rituals had changed a bit since she had attended school, but there was no doubt her daughter had enjoyed the encounter. Anne's left eye looked and felt fine, so there seemed to be no damage done. Cynthia was on the phone a few hours later when she heard Anne scream in terror, "Mom, Mom!" Not only was Anne now feeling intense pain in her eye, she could no longer see. Cynthia rushed her to the ophthalmologist. The news was not good. Annie's eye was hemorrhaging from the blow, a condition called traumatic hemorrhage, which can cause permanent damage to vision. Treatment at the time consisted of patching both eyes and having a patient lie quietly for 5 days, with the head of the bed slightly elevated so that there would not be fresh hemorrhaging as the blood clot dissolved. Ew. I can call an ambulance, or you can drive Annie to the hospital, the doctor told Cynthia. But it's important that she not be jolted at all. He bandaged both her eyes, and Cynthia put her in the car. Cynthia will never forget the drive to the hospital. I was dazed at the unexpected and terrible thing that had just happened to us, she says. I took side streets and drove about 10 miles an hour all the way, trying to grasp the fact that Annie might lose her vision. Annie had absorbed the small message. Along the way, she asked her mother to describe the red and yellow autumn leaves, the birds, even the clouds in the sky, as if she might never see them again. At the hospital, the staff whisked Annie off, and Cynthia attempted to phone her husband, who was out of the country on business. No luck. When she saw Annie again, her daughter was lying in bed, both eyes patched. Vaguely, I noticed her hair. The nurses had arranged it by fanning it out above her head on the pillow, Cynthia says. Annie never lay in bed with her hair up like that, but it was late, and Cynthia had to get back to her other children. She kissed her daughter gently and went home. Only then did she let the tears come. Early the following morning, before they left for work, Cynthia called 2 close friends in her United Methodist congregation and asked them to pray and spread the word. One of them, Norma, told her husband Jim, "It's a tragedy. Annie's vision could be seriously damaged." Jim thought about Annie all day. What a terrible thing. But what could he do to help? He considered himself a believer in Jesus, but he had never prayed specifically for anything, especially not for a healing. He wouldn't know how. But did it really take any special knowledge? There was that child, God's child, in the hospital, and here he was, willing to do anything. Driving home that evening, Jim took a deep breath. "Jesus," he heard himself saying aloud in the car, "Annie doesn't need this problem. Please take care of it right away." Jim had been approaching a stop sign. Now, as he slowed the car, It was as if a curtain came down on the inside of his windshield, almost like a wide television screen. On it, he could see a scene of some kind. It was a hospital room with someone in the bed. It was Annie. He could see her clearly, both of her eyes bandaged, and her hair. He had never seen it like that, fanned out above her on the pillow. But Annie wasn't alone. Standing next to her at the head of the bed, visibly only from the chest down, was the glowing figure of a tall man. Was it a doctor? No, this man was wearing a white robe. Astonished, Jim watched as the man's hand came down and gently cupped Annie's left eye. It was a healing gesture. Jim knew it without being told, and he realized that his prayer was being answered. Gradually, the figure faded, and the stop sign again came into view. Shaken, Jim drove home and phoned Cindy. "Are both Annie's eyes bandaged?" he asked abruptly. "Yes, but how did you know?" "Which one did she injure?" "The left," Cindy answered. "Why?" But Jim couldn't talk about it, not until he had had time to think and wonder. About 5 days ago, Cindy took Annie, still bandaged, to the ophthalmologist. "I had been at peace ever since Jim told me about what he'd seen," Cynthia says. "But Annie was in with the doctor so long that I began to get apprehensive again. Finally, the doctor came into the waiting room. 'This is wonderful,' he told Cynthia. 'I expected Annie to lose at least 30% of her vision, perhaps more, due to the damage. But both her eyes are perfect. It's as if nothing ever happened.' Everyone knows, however, that something did happen, something wonderful. God came."